Dr. Chuck the Science Schmuck.
Synchronized. Smells very odd in here. This is going to be a very short video because I was walking around outside. And what did I find? This. It's a very, very dead snake. That seems kind of gross. But I picked it up because I have no self-control whatsoever. And I put it in this aluminum foil. I think you see where this is going. I'm going to try to preserve that in a block of synthetic amber. I'm not allowed to use the science stove anymore because these are connected houses and the fire hazard is too great. So I've got the rosin, which people tell me is not pronounced rosin, but it is pronounced rosin because I said it, therefore it's pronounceable that way. It's cooking in the oven. So once that's ready, I'm going to pour a layer and try to get this snake stuck, then wait for it to cool, pour another layer, and get him fully sealed in a block of amber. Well, rosin, technically.
Okay, stage one. The snake is on aluminum foil, on a pan, to prevent spillage. I have set the oven to 300 something degrees Fahrenheit, freedom degrees. The rosin is fully melted. It does look awfully red. So that can happen just because it's hot, and it begins to break down on some sort of molecular level. So yeah, pouring it requires the correct tool, which is pliers. Interestingly, I had expected the snake to float more. It does appear to be undergoing some motion, not because it's alive, I am very, very sure it's dead, but because the heat is causing malformations and changes just in terms of its structure. That's the advantage of using an aluminum foil mold. You can shift it a little. So now I have to do that a few more times until the whole thing is totally covered. I should have gotten bigger sauce to make a bigger can, but this will work over time.
Yeah, I haven't made any of these videos in a long time. I've been going through stuff that, getting them done, getting them finished, getting projects built. So, the snake is done, in that it is now right here. That's a large amount of rosin, but I have a ton of this stuff and I needed to use it up. You can see it has been preserved in a block of material, front and back. It's a little dusty, because it's been sitting out for a while. And it is full of a large number of bubbles, which are probably water exuded by the snake that got caught in the material. I have a light. I can backlit the snake. So that definitely is an interesting prospect that something like this could be created. I don't know why I created it, other than I had a dead snake. My neighbors think I'm crazy now because they saw me walking around. They're like, "Oh, is that a snake?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's dead." Yeah. Well, at least it's been productive in death. This is probably a very small baby snake. Before I conclude on that, it does beg the question, however, when you go on the internet and buy insects in amber, is it really insects in amber, or is it something like this? This is not amber. It's not even close. It's rosin. It may turn into amber after a gajillion years, but not. I did a whole video on that. The answer would be in a scientific perspective. If a scientist looks at this, they can look at that snake and say, "Oh, yeah, that's a modern snake." Or, if you're real fancy, carbon dating. Rosin comes from trees. It's probably only formed less than 5 years ago. The amount of carbon ratio isotope would confirm that it is modern, whereas very old amber would be very different because it has, is datable often, although carbon dating only goes back a certain number of years and not to like ancient millions of years ago times. And fossil fuel-based products don't have the same carbon ratio as living derived products because they're so old they burnt off their carbon isotopes. Maybe I skipped over the whole thing about whatever I was talking about. Maybe I didn't. Snake in a block of rosin. I made it. And